Hi guys, Spink here. This is the second episode of the Hardercore playthrough Kerbal Space program. Yeah, so we did our grand total of our first mission and got a whole 7 points out of it. So let's see what we can actually do here. Land on a specific biome. Now this is one that is added by, I believe, the mission controller mod. 31,000. That's a lot of money for where I'm at right now. That is a lot of money. And it lasts for only 100 days though. I can't do the altitude record. I can't escape the atmosphere. I can't orbit. That's something I can do. Tundra. Where is Tundra? Now, I think over in this general vicinity there is Tundra. Right around in here. Just from previous experience. Well, it's kind of a nice environmental effect there with the clouds and the sunrise. Kind of looks like a storm brewing. So what can I do? What can I do? I can do, I can try to do the science experiments at a higher altitude. You know, build a little probe here. Use the little half-size firecracker here. Say I stuck the barometer and the thermometer. We'll put the reflectron on here. And we're looking at 5,200. And I have no way of recovering this yet, so that would be a total loss for that, just to gain some science and no reimbursement of my funds. So I can't do that yet. I don't have, you know, we're at the very dawn of our space exploration here, where we're just experimenting at the very earliest stages. We don't have enough potential yet to attract any substantial capital or investment from anybody. So we're very limited. But what I can do, this guy, I might as well do that, because that's doable, and that's a, you know, 31,000. That's a ridiculous amount of money for me right now. In fact, it's such a ridiculous amount of money for me right now that I'm seriously tempted to turn off this type of contract, actually. But we'll see how that goes, because that's you know, I want to be just scrabbling for every little bit. But we'll see how that goes. Now, what I'm going to do, I can't really launch a rocket and land him over here in any significant way. So what I'm going to do is go to the spaceplane hangar. Now you could, I believe we have the capability here with this cockpit and some of these other parts, wings and fuselages and whatnot, to make a aircraft that can take off from here and land, you know, somewhere within a small radius of here, but certainly within this area over here. But I just don't have the skill myself to actually land one of these things. I can barely get one of these taken off. Now I'm pretty proficient in flight simulators in general, but the keyboard control Kerbal thing, not so much. So, but what we can do, let's see, we'll go to the fuel tank. We do have a fuel tank. and we'll stick an engine on here. But instead of putting wings on it, I'm gonna make an actual ground a ground vessel here, right there. Add this one little chunk here. Let's see, that way, that way, that way. Yeah. So I'm basically gonna make a little like a little rover kind of thing, a little jet car that I can use to drive around to various biomes and pick up science. Because I don't have a whole lot of options at this point. So we have the small gear bay and the smaller gear bay. I think we'll start with the small gear bay. Let's see. Kind of hard to get this positioned exactly as it should go, but I don't really care because I have these new thingies that lets me position it just however I need it. That way. And that way. There. Bada bing. Let's pull him out like that. Make it very stable, because I have run through this this scenario with this setup with mods to ensure that it's actually something I can complete. You know, I didn't want to go through this only to find that it's just not doable. But I've run it through a few times, a few run throughs just to make sure it's something I can do. Barely. You know, I can just barely do it. So in fact, it's not always succeeded in my test runs. Sometimes I've bankrupted myself by crashing something. But I have found that, you know, even something as simple as this little jet car I'm making, I can crash it. I can flip it over. So I'm being extra careful to make it very stable, very low center of gravity. And very wide stance on the wheels, just so I don't crash it, because it's kind of embarrassing. All right, so we're going to take our science that we have. Now, before I do anything, this is the fuselage, right? Because occasionally I'll go out there and try to drive this around and find that I've actually used the structural fuselage instead of the fuel tank fuselage, and then I can't figure out why it won't drive, and that's embarrassing. So it's a good thing that I've gone through all of that in my test runs and don't have to have that on video. Okay, so we're going to put our test, or our science that we can do, which are just these 3 science experiments. We're going to stick that on there. I don't think we really need it, but I'm going to put it on there anyway. And our single antenna, so that we can send this stuff back. And we're going to need an air intake. And that is essentially the craft that I'm going to be using for this next mission or two. 16 parts, so we can have 14 more. So I'm going to basically load this guy up with antennas. Antennas, batteries. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go to the various sites within the Space Center, because each of those locations is a separate biome, and we can do science in each of those. And I'm just basically going to drive this thing around, do the little science experiments, and recover that little bit of science that I'm going to be able to get for kind of a one-time thing. We call this the doodle bug, but that's kind of what it is. And we do, oh, I'm over by 2. All right, right there. There's my parts. Just a little engine, a couple of science experiments. Let's see what's it going to take to build this guy. It's going to take 18 days to build this. Now, in addition to having these parts built and we don't have to build them anymore, it saves us time when we reuse parts, but it's also going to consume part of our budget. So these pieces and this 13,500 is not going to be available to use for other parts, and that's going to potentially be a problem. So when I go back to the other hangar in building rocket parts, this is a considerable portion of my budget, 13,500, that is not going to be available for building rocket parts. And as far as I know, this is not refundable. I don't, you know, it sits here in our part inventory after we build them. So we've built this probe core, the SKGU, the one we had on that test stand, and the additional parts we have on that test stand. That both gains us in build time, but it also ties up part of our money. Our money in the stock game, once you've paid money for something and then recovered it, you get the money back, and you know it's all just a wash. In this, it's not. Your money is tied up in these parts that you have built. So that's an issue too. So this 13,500 worth of parts here, I'm committed to. So should I crash this, for instance, you know, I've got $4,400 to work with otherwise. All right, so let's build this guy. Let's see. This is the space plane hangar, and we have 18 days to build this guy. I like the progression of time. It really adds to my sense of something is actually going on, rather than in the stock game. You know, you build your first 10 rockets in the first week or less. Okay, so it's daylight. Everything looks great, and we're going to go to the spaceplane hangar and launch this guy. Let's take Jeb out, and we'll add our scientist in here, Bob. And we'll launch this guy. Now, I'll put the brakes on. Now, basically, what I'm going to do is go to all the different sites at the Space Center and run all of the science experiments that I can. Is essentially where I'm at here until I run out of battery power. Is really going to be my deciding factor. So what I'm probably going to do is speed this up, run it in fast motion in post-processing, so it doesn't take up all the time of me doing this. But I don't know, maybe I won't. We just have to see how it goes. Magnetometer, crew report, atmosphere, magnetometer. Bob looks quite a bit different, doesn't he? And we'll do our EVA report. Keep the data. He goes in there. Let's toggle that so it doesn't off-center me too much or not overbalance me. Okay, so what I'm going to do, activate the engine, turn the brakes off, and do 1 notch here of throttle. Now, I'm not sure how long I have. Whoops. We gotta turn the juice off here. We gotta unlock the steering on the nose wheel. There we go. Alright, and we stop and apply the brakes and do the temperature, do the various experiments, and that's essentially what all this is going to be here. EVA report. And this is pretty much a one-time thing. I'm not going to be able to do this, you know, over and over. I could potentially do this as I gain each new science instrument, but that'd be a bit of a pain in the butt. I'm not sure that I'm actually going to do that. Alright, but I've got, you know, just with this little jet car here, it can go forever, because apparently the Kerbals have, at this stage in their development, they have not yet invented friction, so I can get the engine up just to, you know, that far, and just, you know, he's still accelerating, the engine's off. So use speed up time here, slow it down, and brake, and temperature, Magno Crew Demo. Alright. EVA report. Okay, so that was here. Next we'll go to one, two, three. I believe there's 8 different little mini biomes that are on the Space Center here. I do have to be somewhat careful, because in my various test runs to make sure this is a feasible playthrough, I've crashed this before. You know, it doesn't even have wings. I've crashed it. Alright. This is the strategy place, whatever that's called. The one that I can't ever figure out any particular reason to ever use. Brakes. Temperature scan. And we'll just keep doing this for as long as I've got the electrical power to do this. Whoops, he doesn't have any. He's just got a board. All right. All right. Battery breaks off. All right, what are we doing here? All right, speed up. I don't think, and it does do some of these transitions. It has a oh, right there, boom. Brakes, but I can't quite get them in time. And you know, it's just going to be again just a handful of points that I'm even going to be able to get at. All right, forging ahead to the next one over. Brakes off. Careful. I don't want to get going too fast, because that would just be silly to risk anything here. Here we go. Brakes right there. Oh, running out of batteries already. All right. Let me see. Let me see now. There's the launch pad And there is also the causeway there, or the I forget what they call it, but that's also one of the things I can drive up to. And I also have this tundra biome that I can get just a whole bunch of money from. So we'll see about that. Batteries, brakes. Alright. But we're running out of juice. Well, 374, that's not horrible. Oop, what's this place? We are at VAB. Let's see if we got how much money we got. Money, batteries. Still down to 200. That's not horrible. And EVA report. Keep the data for those. Alright. Now. $206 left. Alright, brakes. And we're just about out of juice right now. We'll keep that. Let's see, we're actually using power here. And I believe we're using power because of the antenna. If I deactivate the antenna, there we go. And I'm not going to do any more of these. And this is part of this fuse box mod here. This will let me know what I'm generating versus what I'm expending as far as battery power goes. So I'm still expending battery power. And once that goes up above, are we gaining? Now I'm gaining because I do have a generator or an alternator in that jet engine, I guess. Whoa. Alright, so I've got all the... Now I'm expending it again. Alright, that's keeping it about even. I don't want to get going too fast, though, because bad things can happen. I'm heading over here where I know there's a patch of tundra so that I can fulfill that contract and get a little bit of money. But I don't want to transmit any more science, because I don't want to. If I run that completely out of battery power, I won't be able to control this thing at all anymore. The shores. Well, we can always come back and get shores. Looks like our power usage is just right good here. Quite a ways away. Nice little jaunt. We can actually probably travel around quite a ways with this little guy. especially if we were to use, you know, the time acceleration and collect science at various biomes, if it comes to that. Let's see, coming up this hill. Well, I know there's tundra around here somewhere, but I don't know exactly where. Oh, we've hardly even touched our liquid fuel here. We've used 2. Whoa, little fast, little fast, little fast. I've flipped this thing before. Don't want to do that. Tundra, brake. Oh, now I hit grasslands. Alright, spin him around. There's just some small little patch of tundra over there. Just so we can fulfill that contract and have a little bit of breathing room as far as money goes. Tundra. There, we're in tundra. We'll keep that. All right. So that gave us some money. We'll just keep that data. No more samples can be protected. Okay. Driving back home. Oh golly, I'm gonna get this thing run over if I don't get it run over. I'm gonna get it, flip it over if I don't start paying attention. I have no room for error, although now with that contract I do have a little bit of room for error, which has made me somewhat hesitant to use that contract thing. Oh, I've shut off my antenna so I can't send any back. Okay. That's alright. I think we're probably okay with this. The farther you are away from the Space Center when you recover your vessel, the less of the value you recover. So I want to get back obviously as close as I can within reason. A little jet car seems to work pretty good. I don't know how far back I actually have to get. Whoops. Something killed my warp. I guess whenever I just... Whoa. I should probably not try to steer this while I'm under acceleration. Time acceleration, that is. Alright. Nearly there, nearly there, nearly there. Alright. Alright, that's probably close enough. Bobbert. Stop. Get off acceleration, brakes, and recover the vessel. Okay. Well, we shouldn't have too many more of that type of mission. 44 science, so we gained 13 science plus whatever it was that we sent back. And Bob has got a scientific survey ribbon, a research ribbon, and he's the first Kerbal to have landed on Kerbin. Yeah. And I have 4,800 funds, it says, of which Some of it is tied up in parts, I think. Okay, so let's run through and throw this into the science. All right, now we're going to have parachutes. That's going to make things much easier. 20, we'll put it in there. It gives us 9. We have 2 upgrades available. I'm going to put, I'm going to put them both in. Well, before I do that, let's see what our tech is coming in. So our tech is coming in at 14 days for survivability and 19 days for general rocketry. Well, let's invest, let's say, 2 of our points into R&D, and that brings those way down to within a reasonable level now. Whoops, stop. And the upgrades we'll put into the vehicle assembly building and bring him up to 0.5 build points per second. Might as well let that finish off. And we'll see what our next mission is going to be in the next episode, because I'm sure we're well over time at the moment. So call this episode to a close here, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.